Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Dean Moilanen. I'm the Director of Architectural Services for the Noble Company. I've worked with the Noble Company for almost 20 years. And our presentation today is going to be on going linear, but a couple of housekeeping notes. I'll borrow your little pamphlet. You should have all received one of these little portfolios. Inside you'll have the printed out PowerPoint, as well as some information about our company's products. Before we start, Noble Company is a manufacturer of high quality Division 9 sheet membranes for waterproofing, crack isolation, sound isolation, exterior deck membranes. As well, we make linear drains and a variety of sundry products to support the installation of our products. We are at booth 7903. If you have any questions, want to meet with us afterwards, by all means stop by and see us at booth 7903. A couple of other housekeeping notes. In your pamphlet are some articles I've written with regard to waterproofing concepts for shower installations back of the house, as well as exterior deck membranes. But let's jump right into going linear. Now, for our purposes, you may have heard the term trench drain, trough drain, linear drain. I think for most people here, the terminology you want to use is a linear drain. We're looking at, for the most part, I would imagine, Division 9, you have a shower, you may have a health club, you may have a back of the house situation where you want to use linear drains. But in the early days, and by the way, this is an early example of using a trench or trough type drain with tile and stone. The challenge here was that they were very difficult to make watertight and waterproof. Here's an example of what you don't want to do. When you're looking at your linear drain selections, realize they're not all created equal, okay? The waterproofing systems are different. Their intentions and purposes are different. Here you see, this is actually a men's steam room and a health club. Now, let me ask you, you ladies, would any of you ever pick something like that out for this is a men's steam room and a health club, a very rustic, almost commercial exterior type of application, also very difficult to waterproof to that type of detail. Now, why would you want to use linear drains? Any thoughts? Why would you want to use linear drains? Exactly, larger format tiles. When you have a typical clamping ring drain with a multi-pitch scenario, if you use a large format tile, what do you have to do? You have to do the pizza pie cuts. It looks clunky, it looks horrible. Or you're forced to use smaller mosaics, 1 by 1, 2 by 2. It really is very limiting. Here you see on the left-hand side of the image, the same large format tile being used on the wall is being used on the floor, okay? Obviously the shower curb, does anyone really like a shower curb? I mean, it's from the 1950s, 60s, kind of clunky, and as well with an aging population, it presents a trip fall hazard. Literally, mom, dad, your uncle, your great aunt can, trip over that curb and really hurt themselves. Now, for you designer women out there and people, I'll agree, the choice of this tile, maybe not the best choice, but as you can see, the curb went away. There is no curb, and the drain is placed in the back of the shower. Now, all things being equal, I'd recommend whenever possible, if you can locate that linear drain at the back of the shower, water is going to flow in that direction away from the rest of the bathroom. If you decide you're going to put your linear drain right here where the curb was, realize you're now going to have to slope in both directions, okay, to have water migrate towards the drain. But in any event, this is very critical. I would write this down. If you're working with clients and they want to use a linear drain and they want to take that curb away, the whole bathroom has to be waterproofed. Okay, the entire bathroom has to be waterproofed. I have heard some linear drain advocates, they'll tout, well, gee, if you use a linear drain, water gets taken off the floor quickly, you can take the curb away. That's true, but you have to waterproof the entire bathroom because water is going to get out in these areas, okay? So if that curb goes away and you don't waterproof these areas, you could have some issues down the road with water getting behind stud wall cavities, causing microbial growth or mold. Now, obviously, the country is getting older. Boomers, I'm one of them. You know, as we advance in our years, special care needs to be taken. Again, trip, fall hazards. You may have a relative, you may have a family member who's moving into your house. In that case, if they're using a walker or a wheelchair, a linear drain is a great option. And here you see they put it where the curb was, but can you see right here how it's pitched in both directions? Very important, okay? Critically important too. Otherwise, you're going to have water migrating out of the shower into the drying area, okay? Now, this is a true story. By the way, this detail right here, this is essentially a community shower, health club shower. This is illegal in California. Can anyone here guess why this is illegal? Want to hazard a guess? Here's why. With this type of scenario, imagine you have people showering in here with their potions and lotions and whatever they're washing off their body. Where is all that water collecting? In a common area that everybody is sloshing through. It's not good hygiene, okay? So this is actually illegal in California. Now, the better practice would be, and by the way, I belong to a high-end health club in Las Vegas. I won't give the name of the company out, but believe it or not, they had the same detail. I guess it's okay in Nevada, but what you'd want to do is you'd want to have linear drains back in the showers, slope the showers away from this common area. That way water collects away from areas of common usage. And you're not, first of all, even though it's illegal in California, it's just not good hygiene. It's just not safe sanitary practice to be sloshing around in someone else's bathwater, okay? I think we had one of you ladies mention this earlier. Here you see a great example. Look at the large format tile here, how it's now totally integrated, okay? Whatever design scheme you had, your client wanted, you can now carry that out throughout the drawing area, the tub area, the shower area. All has a central unified theme using large format tile. If you were using a clamping ring drain right here, you couldn't do this. You'd have to cut that tile into pizza pie sliver cuts. It would look awful. Now, the other really nice, attractive feature and benefit of linear drains is, you see how it almost disappears? You have to look hard to even see that linear drain is located. So from an aesthetic perspective, it minimizes that drain appearance. Exterior applications. This is the Wilshire Hotel renovation in beautiful downtown Hollywood. You can see the smog in the hills back there. They were gutsy play. They put a pool right on the roof, okay? Now what you cannot see here, barely all along here are linear drains, okay? And this is both it's a health and safety issue because, again, water collects on these areas. People have suntan lotion, various lotions and potions. This area collects water and gets slippery. Someone falls, they're going to sue the hotel. But also, too, by the way, these little cabanas, you know how much they rent for? Take a guess. This little cabana by the side of the pool, $1,000 a day. Okay, so they don't want their customers using this $1,000 a day cabana to be tracking water into that cabana. So linear drains are there to take the water off that deck very effectively and quickly and safely. Okay, so what's the biggest objection? Cost. It's hard to get people past that. Yeah, but I can go to Home Depot and they got this clamping ring drain for $14. Okay, that's true. But some of the cost is mitigated by you're no longer paying a contractor to build that curb, okay? And from a safety perspective, GPM, gallons per minute, linear drains take water off the floor much more effectively, much more quickly than a clamping ring drain. So it's beyond the aesthetic features and benefits, it's a safer way to create a shower environment where someone's not going to slip and fall. And how much is that worth? You know, if your client slips and falls, how much is that worth to your company when you get sued? If it's your mom and dad or your great aunt or great uncle and they slip and fall, you can't put a price tag on that, okay? Now, some quick numbers. The average shower head puts out 2 to 3, low flow shower heads, 2 to 3 gallons per minute. And they say this is true. I wonder though, the average clamping ring drain about 9 gallons per minute. Now I travel a lot. I'm here to tell you, a lot of these clamping ring drains are pretty slow draining. I don't know if they're taking 9 gallons per minute. Now linear drains, and by the way, what do you do when you have these deluge shower features? And if you've been to some of these upscale destination resort hotels, they actually have, in some instances, showers where they can store up to 5 gallons of water, and they pull a handle, and you're flooded with water over your head. They're called deluge showers. Well, a clamping ring drain can't accommodate that, okay? A linear drain, now some of them, depending on design, can be as low as 9 gallons per minute. Some of them, for example, this linear drain right here, been tested, 36 gallons per minute. That's a lot of water to take off your floor, okay? So that's one of your considerations. When you're selecting a linear drain, it's not just the aesthetics, the beauty, but there's also functionality. How fast can you take water off that floor? Now, a quick primer on the differences with different types of linear drains. Obviously, do we all know about slope to drain? Okay, some linear drains don't have any slope in the drain. Now, the reason you want to be aware of that is, in some jurisdictions, plumbing inspectors have red tagged these and said, I'm sorry, there's no slope in that drain, you can't use it, okay? Here you see an example of that same drain being used with a loose laid shower pan. And in this case, it's kind of a hybrid. Here's an old school clamping ring base being married up with a linear drain. So those options are available also to you, but realize if you use that option, you're probably going to have to have a loose laid shower pan. The body of the drain, we're talking about, this is the actual body of your drain. Some are flat, some are sloped. Why is that important? If you're designing someone's home or a remodel, that's going to affect the cost of your floor, right? Because a linear drain with a flat bottom is going to be easier to put onto an existing substrate as opposed, this is a linear drain. Can you see the sloping of the body here? On both sides, it's sloped on. So the good news is this linear drain has slope to it, but if you're going to be putting it into someone's residence or a commercial project, the architect specifier needs to be aware of, well, what am I doing to the floor to accommodate that sloping drain body? I've been on projects in Las Vegas where these drains show up, and guess what? Now you're talking about they're chiseling out concrete to make room for these. Now, probably 99% of linear drains out there are stainless steel, all right? Why do I tell you that? Because part of that is most of them are not marine grade. That may be important to you because what happens to marine grade, if you have stainless steel that's not marine grade quality, over time with cleansing protocol, with various potions and lotions, and again, not to get too offensive, but the stuff that comes off the human body can be highly corrosive, okay? And so if you're picking out a stainless steel linear drain, identify, is it going to be marine grade or not? Some manufacturers, here's one example, are moving to an ABS or PVC plastic body. Okay, there are no concerns with whether that body is marine grade or not. And also, too, some manufacturers, you'll notice here, have the slope contained within the drain body. Why is that important? That 1/4 inch per foot is code, okay? Now, important to note, I would write this down. Most of your linear drain manufacturers have their drain location, their tie-in, right in the middle, okay? Right in the center. That could be a problem. You know why? If you're doing a remodel in someone's home and there's a beam, a joist, a plumbing, and your drain tie-in's in the middle, what can you do? You're kind of stuck. Some manufacturers, you see this drain tie-in? It's off center. So let's just say I had obstruction right here. What could I do? Turn it around, okay? Also, too, Some linear drain manufacturers have the flexibility and options of giving you a custom tie-in location. I was part of a project. It was a VA hospital in Biloxi, Mississippi. They had to have the drain location right here. The plumbing was already set in place. They had to have someone who could make a drain that would do that. Okay, so realize part of your selection process is you want to make sure, gee, is my drain tie-in going to marry up with the existing location of my plumbing? Because it can get awful expensive if you get to the job and realize you have to reroute your plumbing, okay? All right, waterproofing. We all realize primarily there's either liquid membranes or sheet membranes for waterproofing. They've both been around for decades. We have what we call our Franken drain. And we married up, much like Frankenstein's monster, we married up two different types of linear drains. And I'll try not to smash my microphone. This is a stainless steel linear drain. Typically, liquid membrane will be applied to the stainless steel drain body. Occasionally hot glue. Of course, liquid membrane's been around for 20, 30 years, if not longer. The concern with liquid membrane systems is you're held hostage by the quality of your substrate, varying substrate conditions, and the quality of your installer. Because realize you're counting on the installer to put uniform, repetitive coats of that membrane down to achieve the correct thickness. Other options with sheet membranes, obviously, again, they've both been around for decades. A sheet membrane has a continuous, uniform consistency. Now, in this case, the manufacturer has a clamping ring, and so you're not painting on or gluing on your membrane. You're literally physically and chemically attaching the membrane to the drain body. So in terms of structural integrity, strength, how robust that attachment is, this is a very, very strong, firm attachment of waterproofing, okay? But be aware, depending on your linear drain selection, you're going to have to decide what kind of membrane do I want to use with that linear drain. Here's a loose laid shower pan. We all know what loose laid shower pans are. They're laid loosely on the pre-pitch. Mortar bed goes on top of it, and then your drain on top of the mortar bed. This is a detail for that installation. I will tell you, most linear drains today have a bonded membrane system on top of the dry pack mortar bed or pre-pitch, okay? Here's an example of hot glue. And again, some drain manufacturers have slope in the drain body, some don't. You need to decide what you need for your projects, okay? Here's another example of a hot glue drain, membrane system. Here's that detail. Now notice the membrane is now on top of the mortar bed, not below it, okay? We talked about fluid applied, liquid membrane systems. Typically, they're painted on, and you can see it's kind of painted or brushed on. Here's your substrate, here's your linear drain. The one thing you need to be aware of when picking anyone's membrane system out, look in terms of what is the ANSI A118.12 movement characteristics of that waterproofing membrane system, because where this floor meets this wall, there's going to be movement. Where this membrane hits this stainless steel drain, there's going to be movement, okay? You want your membrane system to be able to accommodate that movement. Refer to ANSI A118.12 for the correct rating systems. Here's that detail for a liquid membrane system, dry pack mortar bed, liquid membrane system, tile is then bonded to the liquid membrane. Here's an example we showed you earlier. A clamping system where the membrane, sheet membrane, is literally fused to the drain body along with a marine grade sealant and is mechanically and chemically attached to the drain body. And here's that detail right here. Be aware, if you're going to pick out linear drains, what happens if you say, gee, I want my linear drain to have a bonded membrane system? Okay, but your contractor, when he gets on the job, says, oh, sorry, I only do loose laid mortar beds. What are you going to do? In some cases, you have manufacturers who have adapter kits. So the drain you select and choose can be used for a mortar bed installation or a bonded membrane system. But realize, most linear drains are either one or the other. One or the other. So before you select your linear drain, talk to your contractor, make sure you're all on the same page. What type of waterproofing are you going to be doing? We talked about A118.12, and somewhere here I have an ANSI manual and TCNA manual, but this is really critical. If you're trying to evaluate, I want my membrane to resist movement. Standard performance is 1/16 of an inch. High performance is 1/8 of an inch, okay? And again, just because a membrane only gets to this level doesn't mean it's defective or inferior. Just realize there's always good, better, best. You might decide for your project, for your client, you want some additional assurances and insurance. By defaulting to a high-performance membrane, you're doing that. All right, so realize you're not just picking out a linear drain. You may have to decide, by the way, some manufacturers can make custom drain sizes. Do you need 37.5 inches? How about 7.5 feet? How about 8 feet? There are linear drains out there that long. Or 2.5 feet. You may have that option available. You may need that option. Strainer design. Some manufacturers can offer you a custom strainer design. It may have, if you're doing a hospitality project, it may have the name of that hotel's destination resort name on the linear drain strainer. By the way, tile top strainers, they're also available. But realize if you use tile top strainers, the gallons per minute is going to decrease, all right? That's with anyone's drain. If you put a piece of tile or stone across the top of that drain, the amount of water it can pull off the floor is going to decrease. Tie-in options. Make sure you know where that drain's tying in and make sure it's compatible with the drain you're selecting. And also, too, is it important to have marine-grade stainless steel? It might be, or it might not be, but be aware before you purchase your drain, okay? Here we see tile top right here. You see, when you use this type of design element, the drain almost disappears. By the way, true story, I was on a job, and I watched the tile contractor was caulking. He was putting silicone. I said, don't do that, because water's not going to get, because, you know, contractors, they're used to, you know, when they have a dissimilar surface or when they have a opposing angle, the first thing they do is get a caulk gun out. You don't want to, even with this typical strainer, you don't want to caulk around the edges. That's where your water is getting into your drain, okay? Now, what happens if you have a big floor? You have 20, 30 linear drains on a big pool, but you don't want that, you know, drain here, drain there, drain here, drain there. Some manufacturers have connectors. So the finished appearance looks like a monolithic, singular long strainer, okay? Little things like this are important as far as design aesthetics are concerned. Of course, we're talking about, here's less than marine grade stainless steel. Between the chemical potions and lotions being used to clean your kitchen or your drain, and the various corrosive elements of food, and what, again, can come out of and off of the human body, all of these elements can have an impact on stainless steel that's less than marine grade. So, some final thoughts, takeaways. All linear drains are not created equal, okay? So, when you pick out your linear drain, ask yourself, what kind of waterproofing method do I want to use? Do I need a custom size, you know, drain or custom strainer? Is the drain tie-in important to me? I would say obviously contact your vendor, your manufacturer. They almost always have a tech helpline. Go online and look at it that way in terms of information. But hopefully you walk away today a little more well-informed as to your options. I want to thank you all for being here today. We are at booth 7903. Please stop by. We'd love to talk to you about your projects, and have a great show. Okay, thank you very much.